Roxborough Roundtables. Welcome to the fourth installment of the Roxborough Roundtables. Today our topic is entrepreneurship and the public policy's role in supporting new venture creation. Our host today is Dr. Stephen Spinelli.
Hi, it's a pleasure to be here. I'm a lifelong entrepreneur, and I like to think of myself as an entrepreneurial educator. So we're going to talk about both our experiences in entrepreneurship and how the environment around us has supported those experiences or gotten in the way of those experiences. We'd like to start the discussion. I'd like to start the discussion with how people define entrepreneurship and what is their experience as an entrepreneur.
How do I define entrepreneurship?
And your name, please.
My name is Bob Solomon. I am an entrepreneur. I've been an intrapreneur as well. I've been head of 5 companies. I've raised money. I've also been on the venture side. So I've given out money, so I understand it from both sides.
Tell us what your first deal was, and if you have a current, or tell us what your first deal was and what was your best deal, very succinctly.
Okay, my first deal was ended up being a disaster, but it was in grad school, and we actually formed one of the first companies to do business software on a PC. I was at Temple University, and somebody called in and they gave me the call. So I formed a little company of 5 guys, and we started building software for a pizza company. It would have been the first business software on a TRS-80, if you know what that is. And things were rolling along until one day I was out, and one of the professors came down to my team. We were using university property, and said that they could all get sued if their software didn't work. And this is in the late 70s, by the way.
So that went away.
That went away.
What was your best deal?
My home run was really when I was part of a corporate action. I was one of the principals that took a company private, and then in a $300 million transaction, and then took it public 2 years later in a $1 billion transaction.
Well, an interesting juxtaposition of these two experiences actually gets to a core issue in entrepreneurship. The first, in your case, both were around resources. So you thought you had a good idea, and it got stopped because
They got scared.
issue around success and resources. The other one, you were able to garner significant resources, it appears, and to really leverage it. What was the exit from that, or harvest from your most successful deal?
My piece?
No. You can tell me anything.
Like I said,
No, but what was the nature of the harvest? Did you sell to a...
Oh no, we went public.
You went public.
We went public,
Okay.
yes, IPO. So we got a $1 billion valuation right out of the box.
How much of the company did you sell in the IPO?
I want to say maybe 25%.
So you raised somewhere in the vicinity of $250 million on that,
Yeah, something like
in that experience.
We had a unique business, and the reason we took it private actually wasn't just to make money. We were a company people did not understand, and our valuation was really low, and we thought somebody was going to eat us. So that's why we took it private. But then a lot of other things were going on, and we saw the opportunity.
That's what happens. Let's go at the other end of the spectrum to the students, and tell me what your view of entrepreneurship is. What does entrepreneurship mean to you, and what are you doing about that? Either one of you. Let's start here.
So, entrepreneurship.
What is your name?
My name is Kyle Dork, industrial design major, 3rd year. And I see entrepreneurship as an opportunity to release your passion into the world for the greater good.
Is the greater good you making money too?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
So,
good. Don't be afraid to say that. It's all right.
You gotta make a living. And I think that aspect really it benefits the economy as well. Entrepreneurship, it's all about connecting the dots. There's
What does connecting the dots mean? Seems like a cliche to me. Connect
Yeah,
the dots, take it to the next level. Those things, I don't understand them. What do you mean?
So there's this great quote by Avicii. He says, "Those who dance were called insane by the ones who couldn't hear the music. And I think it's very powerful in a sense where the people who danced could hear the music, the people who couldn't hear the music couldn't dance. So I think if you make that connection between actually listening to what's around you, then you can progress.
So what are you listening to now that's making you progress?
I'm listening to the environment, and I think that's a very important topic to pay attention to.
Well, give us then 30 seconds. See if you can do this in 30 seconds. What is it that what is your company doing? What service do you? What is your company? Give me your pitch.
So my pitch is creating a company that creates space-saving, sustainable, energy-efficient products to the market.
Oh, you got it done in 20 seconds. That's not bad. That's not bad. And you're a junior in college.
Yeah.
At Philadelphia University. You're industrial design. What does industrial design mean?
Well, it's a very broad,
Well, give me a one-sentence answer.
Culture maker.
A culture maker.
Yeah.
See, in my world, I'm old. We used to say industrial design was product design and development. But you think of it in much broader terms because you want to change the world. So you're going to create something that's going to change the world.
Sylvio, do you think about it that way?
No, I'm not that ambitious. I don't. No. I just want to
He's
make
the other
money. No, I'm
spectrum.
kidding. We're both industrial designers. My name is Sylvio Pinedo. I'm from Argentina. I studied industrial design there, and I'm here studying a master in sustainable design. And we're both, industrial designers. And I don't know, what did you ask? I forgot.
Yeah, what is your perspective on entrepreneurship? How are you involved as an entrepreneur?
I was thinking, honestly, I don't have a definition, but I guess I share what he said. It's like it's like an excuse to follow your passion. It's like, I want to do this because I want, it's like you've got a goal, and that's how you become an entrepreneur. But you didn't say, I want to be an entrepreneur. Suddenly, what happened to me is that I was an entrepreneur, and I didn't realize. It's like because I was following a passion.
That's very interesting. And what is your deal? What's your company?
What do I do?
Yeah.
I've got a design studio in Argentina, a company that now is in charge of my business partner while I'm here, because I won a Fulbright scholarship and I'm part of this country mission that they sent me here. And we design and produce products and furniture made of recycled rubber. And I brought some here. There are no cameras, but I can show you then if you want. Like, these are the small products of the family, and these are flower pots made of recycled rubber. Different colors.
Fantastic.
This looks like a Tupperware ring.
For the radio audience, they're beautiful.
Okay, yeah. And this is a prototype of a new material that then I will be able to show you later if we have time to talk about that.
For you on the radio, that if you watch the movie Tron, they look like some of the characters, mechanical characters in Tron, only they have green hair.
Yeah,
Yes.
These are beautiful. These are terrific. So what are the barriers and what are the lubricants? Where's the friction and where is the movement in entrepreneurship? What is going to drive you to the next level? What will make you successful? Either one of you.
Help me.
I think it's doing what the big businesses don't or can't risk doing,
Well, it is a brilliant comment. I mean, there is one of the underpinnings of entrepreneurship. There's no entrepreneurship theory, really. So in colleges and universities, we draw from lots of different theories and perspectives. One of them that entrepreneurship educators love is Schumpeter. And Schumpeter talked about creative destruction. And it was the industrialists wanted stability. They owned a marketplace, they know how to manufacture in that, and they don't want disruption. entrepreneurs say, you're not doing it right, I think I can find a better way to do that. And they change, they destroy the old to create something new. And it's that process of creative destruction that adds value. The key to that, part of the key to that, in which both of you seem to be well embedded in, is innovation. You can change in lots of ways, but technology and innovative thinking and innovative materials can disrupt a marketplace, and you're the lead disruptors in that.
No, I think that it is possible for large companies to do it, but they have to have the right mindset in order to make it happen. They have to be willing to let people try things and make mistakes. They have to be willing to take risks. They essentially have to be flexible, adaptable, and open-minded, in my opinion.
Yeah. Introduce yourself and tell us how you feel about this.
Hi, my name's Graham Copeland, and my wife teaches here in the fashion design department. So I'm here guilty by association. And I just launched a new business, and it's a consulting firm called Downtown Dynamics. I've done work in managing downtown business districts. So now I'm doing that as a consultant and working with municipalities and downtown district management organizations. And so for me, entrepreneurship is about going out, doing it on your own, as these gentlemen said, finding your passion, doing something that you love, and figuring out how to make a living doing it. And it is fun, and it's exciting and scary all at the same time, because there's nobody paying you. You have to create it for yourself, to create the value so that somebody's willing to pay money to you for what it is that you're offering.
Yeah, very good.
There's something really interesting that was said by you, and that is passion first. So many times I've seen people come out of business schools, not this one, of course, and what they want to do is they want to be an entrepreneur to make money. And my observation, and it's only anecdotal, is those guys don't end up doing really well. The ones that say, I want to do this and change the world, or I want to make one of these, and have a passion about some problem that they want to solve, they're the ones that seem to find a way to succeed. The ones who just are focused on money seem to find roadblocks really quickly and stop.
Well, there's a common theme that I'm hearing here that is interesting to me, both on the individual level and on the corporate level, from both of you, is entrepreneurship no longer just about starting a company? Is it about something different? Is it a competency that embraces change to improve a marketplace, or to improve a life, or to improve something, to create value for someone? And if it is, what is driving that? Why today and not 20 years ago? What is it behind, what is it in the culture or in the society that is causing this to occur?
Yeah, the name is Tom. If I can piggyback on that, sir. I spent my entire professional career in corporate America, so I'll be the last one to talk about entrepreneurship, because you know what do you know about it? You're sitting in an ivory tower. Well, I suppose you could call those folks to be entrepreneurs, to some extent you're inside. How I define entrepreneurship, and I love, Steve, that you talk about core competency. I would define being an entrepreneur to be something that certainly risk-taking, certainly passionate, but someone has that competency to be able to accomplish a lot with very limited resources.
Very good.
All right, that's number one. And so that said, then I do believe that it's a competency that can be taught and can be developed. That's another thing that I believe in. So if you're thinking about using the Joseph Schumpeter constructive destruction, right?
Creative destruction.
Creative destruction, sorry.
Yeah.
If you look at major companies, they are absolutely afraid of change. But now today, change is something that we know is constant. So big companies are basically very scared, and that's. But there are other companies out there are not afraid to make their own current portfolio of products to be obsolescent, because the only way to do that is to make what you're selling now to be obsolete, so that the next round you have a whole new group of innovative products that you capture more consumers coming in.
My name is Moa Salim. I'm a fifth-year marketing major. I completely agree with the professor over here.
That's the fun.
Professor Funk. Everything changes. Entrepreneurship to me is something that is, to be an entrepreneur, you have to understand what's going on around you. What I'm trying to say is what's currently going on. For example, style changes, clothing styles change. Every person changes. We all change, and over time, everything changes. So you can't just build something that is that for that time. Everything needs to have somewhere else to go. So, for example, when opening, let's say, a cosmetic company, okay, there's more and more things that are coming out on the market that are becoming better and better. So if you're someone who is just offering the simple stuff where you can get anywhere, you're not going to really go anywhere. You need to be that person that is on top of the game, above everyone else, and ahead of everybody with the new and innovative designs and products, or else, honestly, it's going to lead to failure.
Of course, it may not just be the product. Okay, it may be that you have a better way of approaching the market than somebody else does, and that could be your innovation.
Also, marketing is, as we spoke earlier, if you could have the greatest product in the world or the greatest thing to give someone to give to somebody, but without the marketing and without being able to show the world what you have and show them what you have correctly, which is why I'm a marketing major and want to be an entrepreneur. So I'm learning how to do this right now, so that when I do become an entrepreneur and I do decide exactly what I want to do, I will be able to show the world what it is, and I'll show them it correctly.
Well, you make the interesting use of language is that you're going to show the world. And historically meaning previous maybe to last 10 years, certainly in 20 years ago, we wouldn't think of a market as a global market. And we wouldn't think of resources as being globally available. The movement of goods and services and the movement of capital and the manner in which we serve a market is now much broader. And so the nature of opportunity may be changing. There is a difference. When I used to teach entrepreneurship, I would talk about the difference between a small business and entrepreneurship. And there's a real difference in that. The reason I like the word entrepreneurship, it is about building. It's a French word. It's taken from the French and means to build. So if you're looking to build, you're looking to change, you must be growing. And it is really the high potential ventures, the ones that can take a global, well, we have a whole spectrum, but the ones that really are what some academics call the gazelles. Those are the ones that create a lot of value, a lot of employment, and really can lift a society. So looking at your role in a more global perspective is important.
I was thinking and comparing what you were talking about and, for instance, our little company. And it's interesting because, for instance, I'm here and I'm able to co-work with my business partner. And 10 years ago, maybe we couldn't have been able, well, maybe 15 or 20, we could have been able to do that. And something interesting about our project is that from the beginning, we began working in different cities. I mean, we've got 2 design studios, for instance, in 2 different cities, and we don't work together physically. And maybe
we work together separately.
Yeah, I mean, we work together separately, but yeah, and we are still doing this, but more separate. Like, that's the way business grows.
Well, and therein lies a competitive advantage for the person or the entrepreneur who can figure out how to create those business models in those organizations that can get the competitive advantages of intellectual capital in one country and raw materials in another company and marketing expertise in another and tech support in another and customers in another. That opens up the playing field pretty dramatically. And especially, frankly, the current student body who thinks that's normal. That's a big change.
Yeah.
And that big change is just a normal part of your life. To talk to someone in India about a technology problem is just no big deal. Of course I would. Or to source product from South America, if that's the best place, why wouldn't you? And your statements about I have to tell the world is not something we heard 10 years ago. I'd have to tell my neighborhood, or or this small market.
And I think my name is Zoe McKinley. I run the Blackstone Launchpad entrepreneurship programs here on campus. And the barriers to entry to starting a company have decreased so much. It's not nearly when in the 90s when people were starting software companies, you needed to raise tens of millions of dollars to code software. Now you can do it for almost free. Or for if you can get someone to sweat in, you can
Sweat equity
do it for free.
that's right.
You can crowdfund. You can raise money from all kinds of different sources. The playing field has changed dramatically over the last several years, and I feel like it's only going to continue changing dramatically.
Because I'm not sure how commonly understood. Could you talk a little bit about crowdfunding?
So crowdfunding is something that has evolved recently, and it's actually very interesting because basically it started with programs like Kickstarter that allowed people to put their products, generally consumer goods or art pieces, up on a website, and then any person who saw it could pay a variety of sums of money to support that project. So they could help produce a movie, they can help open an art gallery, they can help buy little Buna cubes. They can do any number of things to support an entrepreneurial venture. And now people are raising tens of millions of dollars on crowdfunding campaigns, and they're using it to market their business. I know of companies that have already raised venture capital money who are now doing Kickstarter or crowdfunding campaigns as their market entry plans to gain crowd support. It's very interesting how this is changing the opportunities, not just for consumer goods startups anymore, but for all kinds of startups.
Well, there's an interesting public policy interface with that, too. Back in the day, when I was a young guy, you couldn't do crowdfunding. It was illegal to do crowdfunding. So if you raised money, you had to raise money in a limited partnership from 35 people or less, and they had to be qualified investors, which meant they had to have a net worth of so much, because they were afraid of scams.
Well, it still is. You still have to be accredited until they put the final rules out, though.
So, but in a Kickstarter deal, you can get tons of startup capital without regulatory interface.
But they're not necessarily taking equity. So that's the big difference is instead of investing in your company and owning a piece of your company, the piece they own is the product. So they prepay for a product.
You're sort of capitalizing through early or negative accounts receivable.
Exactly. It's fascinating because it totally de-risks a lot of the manufacturing work that people are doing. So if you have a physical product, instead of having to outlay a big chunk of capital up front and then try to sell it, you now can basically have all these pre-orders and then you outlay the capital, and if you don't raise the money, you're not obligated to fill the orders.
I want to make one comment, though, about right now there's this belief that because it's so easy to make software, it's almost free, you can start a company for free. I don't agree with that. What I believe is you can create a product really for almost for free. But turning that product into a sustainable business, the cost of doing that has not decreased over time.
Tell me what the activity is to do that, and then maybe a little bit about the cost.
So the activity about which part?
You have a product.
Right.
You've done it for sweat equity.
Right.
Now you want to create a company. You told me that's hard. What do I have to do?
So now it's the difference that we talked about earlier about building. And the way I think about it is that I want to make it scalable. I want to grow as fast as I can. And so I have to figure out what my repeatable business model is. I mean, if you follow Steve Blank, which I do,
Steve Blank is, by the way, Steve Blank is, there's the Steve Blank Chair in Innovation at Philadelphia University, and is a big supporter of what we do here and how we do it. And he is a very, very successful entrepreneur on the West Coast, and teaches at Berkeley and at Stanford. And you can visit him at steveblank.com. He's a genius. Go ahead.
What he would say is that the difference between a startup and the big company is that in a startup you're searching for a sustainable business model.
Yes.
And that is hard. You have to, and in the past what you did is you thought about it and you wrote these humongous business plans, by the way, that still happens in a lot of places, especially to get investment. And you wrote these plans, and then maybe you got a couple of bucks, and then you started it, and then you found out all the time you spent on your plan was a waste of time. In fact, I think the quote is that no one knows of any business plan that ever survived the first interaction with a customer. And it's probably an exaggeration, but so what you have to do is you guess. You make a hypothesis about where your target market is, and then you try it. And instead of making a million things and having it sit there, you make a couple, and you throw it out there and see if they resonate, see if they really want it. And if they don't, you find out why. And maybe you'll find out that there is no market, or maybe you'll find out there would be a market if I put 3 warts on the side. And then you go back, iterate 3 warts on the side, and go out and see if that really worked. And you keep doing that until you find it, or you decide there is no market for your vision. So that's a real simplistic way of describing it.
It's a terrific way, and it's one of the ways we really believe in at Philadelphia University it's a design thinking, it's a take on design thinking that is an iterative process of investigating the environment you're in, understanding where the gaps are and where improvements can be made, and then iterating small bets, lots of losses, some wins. Eventually you shape it into a business model. Steve Blank would say that entrepreneurship is a good idea trying to find a business model.
And I tell people in my classes that it's sort of like taking the scientific method and applying it to a business. Now, I've not heard anybody say that, but it seems to me that that's what you're doing. And that's the way you do things as a scientist. You have a hypothesis, and then you try to prove the hypothesis. Somebody else tries to disprove the hypothesis. And
yeah, the difference is you get to change the hypothesis along the way.
Well, you do.
It's highly dynamic.
Well, you do it. I think. Well, I mean, at least I did in science as well.
Cheated.
I probably change the assumption. That's how you.
Oh, that's very good.
If I may ask a question, because we have some young people here who want to be entrepreneurs, and we have people here who've been successful entrepreneurs. And a lot of younger people, even older, fear is what gets in the way of them moving forward and taking that risk of going out on their own. And what I really would like to do, if we could address first the students, how are you addressing that, and how did you conquer it? So
Well, let's just slightly adjust that to also tell us what you're afraid of.
Which would be the question? Part of what I'm afraid of. Sorry.
Yeah, fear of people often say they're too afraid to start a business. What are they afraid of? What scares you?
Not being able to have money to buy food, something to eat.
Starvation could be a fear.
That was my motivation, because I was, for instance, I think about my experience. I don't know how to tell this, but I was working at a company that I felt that I had reached like a certain level that I was feeling like suffocated. I don't know. I needed something else, breathe new air, and that's why I became suddenly, I don't know, I was an entrepreneur. But as I said, I wasn't looking for that.
You said it was. You started off though saying you had a fear of not being able to buy food.
Yeah,
But
because-
yet you were making money, but you weren't doing, it wasn't fulfilling somehow.
Yeah.
And then you found something
Yeah,
that was
there
fulfilling.
was-
that
yeah.
more important than buying food?
If we have a balance, like I was earning money, but there was something empty here that was like
In your
no,
soul.
Yeah, like no, this is not what I want to do. And,
So I wonder if your fear
and
really
now
was
I don't-
money.
I did what I
It was something
wanted.
else.
So my fear is not having a successful business before I have to start paying my loans back.
Economic realities are important to acknowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's that. Also, it's like making enough of an impact. Like we were saying, is like what you're trying to do. Will that work in today's society? Will that benefit? Will that carry through?
Yeah, I think there is, in essence, a fear of failure. I think that this is going to change the world. I do it, and the world doesn't care. Maybe I don't feel so good about that, and that's a struggle, and it beats up your ego.
I think knowing you, I also think that you have this constant fear of not being fast enough to catch whatever the next thing is. You're you know, it's this feeling of like, I don't want to let the opportunity pass me by because I'm not moving fast enough to grab it.
I have a wonderful friend, terrific entrepreneur, and great entrepreneurship educator, and he calls that feeling of I gotta hurry up and I gotta get this done and I better your drive thing. He calls it entrepreneur in heat. Listen, when you get a person who is an entrepreneur in heat, they're just feeling their temperature rising all the time. I gotta go do, and
Yeah.
I have to be there, and there's almost no route. I gotta go forward. So you guys are suffering EHI. Yeah, EIH.
I'm finding there's not enough time in the day. And so after dinner, like 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night, I'm on my computer. But it's different than when you're working for somebody else.
Yeah.
Because when you're doing it for yourself, it's partly driven by that fear, but partly driven by excitement all wrapped up together.
Yeah.
This is what I love, this is what I want.
So none of you want to get rich? That's not an important part of this?
I gave up getting rich a while back when I chose to do something different with my career. And I gave up the stable path. And it was hollow. I mean, I could have been a corporate guy, but, you know, just selling stuff for somebody else and making money just didn't resonate. It wasn't fulfilling. And at the end of the day, what do you say you did? You sold something to somebody. But that's not doing it for me.
Seriously, it's
The
important.
question was define rich, and I say to entrepreneurs all the time, you should. You should define it. What does that mean for me? Because there is a scorecard embedded in the economics of entrepreneurship. So if I take your money, I'm making a promise that I'm going to deliver something back, and usually in investment, that's your money plus a little bit on top. And so I'm making a commitment to you to create value, to create a return. And I want to be measured on that. I liked being measured on those quantitative levels. I like the qualitative levels too. I still have friends that were in business and old students and customers and all of that. But I like the economic measure.
I think if you make an impact, the money will come.
I think you're right.
So
So if I create value, I'll get my piece.
pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, that's very good. Let's talk about the capital markets food chain here, because part of this issue of having to pay your loans or having to feed your family or feed yourself is real. And so, have any of you raised capital? I know you've raised a lot of capital as a part of, and tell us something about that. Did you raise any capital to start your business?
No, completely bootstrapped.
There's definitely a difference between a bootstrap company and a venture-backed company. There certainly can be a big difference. And there also may be different mindsets involved. I don't know if you want to build a scalable business or whether you want to build a lifestyle business. I'm feeling lifestyle, but I'm not.
And a lifestyle business
It's not
typically
bad.
wouldn't be able to attract venture capital.
Right, correct,
Yeah.
correct.
What does attract venture capital?
Today, traction.
What's
Okay,
that
a
mean?
big, that there's a huge market for whatever it is you're doing, and that you've demonstrated that at least a segment of that market really wants it. And that's what gets people's juices rolling. The problem, and this is a real hot button for me, the problem that I see right now, though, is if you are new at that, and you have a great idea, but you have expenses. Maybe you have a wife and kids, or a partner and kids, whatever. You can't afford to stop that unless you can raise money. And back in the day, if you had an idea, it was at least possible to get a stipend, $25,000 to $50,000 to $100,000, based on an idea.
Where'd you get that from?
Who'd you get it from?
Yeah.
Sometimes you got it from friends and family, which is still possible, but you could actually get it from investors back in the day. And what has happened, though, is the entire venture market has shifted. And so what that idea stage, the best statement I saw a statement today was, it was actually out of a VC in Jordan. And he said that there are so many companies today, so many startups, we don't need to invest in idea stage anymore. That's too risky. So where does that money come from? And, I've been grappling with that.
But if you have it's a bit of a contradiction. The venture capitalist says there are so many startup companies, I don't need to invest in, I'll see which ones survive. So if there's and you're saying, boy, we better get money for startup companies or we're not going to have enough startup companies.
So what I would say the ecosystem is doing right now is accelerators. So there are tons and tons and tons, thousands of these programs now, and I ran one, that basically do time-bounded boot camp style venture capital prep. So they take back of napkin concepts. You can literally walk in, and I've been with a company that was literally on paper just sort of a sketch, and as long as the entrepreneur had enough sort of chops to prove they could actually in 3 months build something, they come in, you give away 2 to 10% of your company, you get anywhere from no money to $80,000 or $90,000, and you build for 3 months in a room with some other people. And they can be virtual, and they can be shorter, and they can be longer, and some of them charge you, and some of them pay you. But I think that's some of the most large amounts of capital going in at this early stage. And right now, you see Techstars and Dream It and Y Combinator, and they're sort of entrepreneur as spaghetti. So they try to take as many of these startups at an early stage as humanly possible. They give small amounts of money away, take a chunk of equity in all of them, and then throw them at the wall and see who sticks. And that's kind of what's going on right now. So you see tons and tons of startups going through those programs.
Is that good public policy? Because it seems brutal. Because if I take that spaghetti and throw it, most of it's falling on the floor. And a lot of wasted food as a result of that. But if there's all that massive demand, some of them are going to stick and become
Airbnb.
Yeah.
And that's what they get.
Yeah.
That's what Y Combinator was banking on
I think it is good public policy, but I don't think it's enough. I think it's good public policy because the process that you go through, at least the big ones. Now there's a huge difference between Y Combinator and everybody else. I mean, if you've ever looked at the numbers. But the learning experience that you get is extremely valuable, whether you do another startup or you actually go work for someone.
Very important.
So that public policy part, that's the public policy part. The problem though is you still have to apply to an accelerator. So and fortunately or unfortunately, admittedly or not admitted, there's an age bias. They really are oriented to getting people right out of school who don't have a lot of overhead and expenses, and that's what they work
You and
with.
I don't have a shot.
Not really. Not really.
No. I'm getting up
I
there.
kind of agree with them. They don't want me there.
With reservations. I mean, if you prove you've done it every single time, although I don't know anyone who's done that,
Yeah.
you can probably do it. Or if you know them, then you can do it.
Yeah.
So that's another important piece of entrepreneurship.
Let me ask a question about this. How do you preserve your intellectual property if you got a great idea and you want to keep it close to your vest in that situation?
Well, being an IP attorney as well, but I don't practice anymore.
Well, my feeling about it is, if it is a protectable IP, then you do your homework. You get the right lawyer and you do all the IP protection you can. If it is a combination of different business practices in different markets, it's hard to steal. When we started Jiffy Lube, it was the first quick service company around. So there was no concept of it. And we got some early traction with some early stores. That's the traction issue. And we said, oh my God, we could grow this to a national company. But we better protect our IP. We couldn't get a patent on anything. The only thing that's protectable is the name Jiffy Lube.
Mm-hmm.
And we used to say, you can't take a picture if they come in the bays. Don't let them. Then after about 2 years, we said, this is so hard.
Yeah.
If they can take a picture and tell us how to do it, we'll copy them. So, I don't care. We're going to be ahead of the market. We're going to be better. We're going to take criticism and we're going to learn. Competitors are going to come in and we're going to beat the heck out of them and we let it go.
Yeah, to that point, I spent most of my life in software. I mean, a little bit of hardware, but mostly in software. And I wasn't an IP attorney then. And none of the companies, successful or not, were based on patents. It was something that we thought about, but we were so busy doing the business, and we believed that if we got out there with it, we still, whatever time you spent, the next guy has to spend that amount of time to get there, unless they steal it. If they steal it, there are ways to go after them.
Yeah, and there is also, and then Tom, I want you to comment on this. There's also the theory, and I forgot who said this. It might have been you who said, let me start it up, and I'll get it going. When I get traction, I'll either sell it, and I can make a lot of money doing that and serve a big demand, or I can get a big ton of investment. So my initial part of getting that traction, if I get the traction, then I get a $10 million venture tranche, I'm going to be way ahead of everyone. Tom?
I want to jump back on this, that when you launch Jiffy Lube, you have that first mover advantage because there's nothing out there like that. Mm-hmm. And so in my mind is that it's like the whole notion that I think like you talked about one time is like with any businesses, you have a life cycle and you got to have an exit strategy. And I was listening to NPR on Monday. They have this new social web network. It's called Ello. It's out of Vermont. It's sort of anti-Facebook kind of a thing. Okay, it's no commercial and all that kind of stuff. And suddenly, then at the end of the story, it was learned that Ello took some venture capital, and so they have to have an exit strategy. And I don't like that because it got to be back into your lecture on life cycle management. So whether you call it harvest or exit strategy, but what you have is that you're able to capture that first move advantage. And so when they come in and copy everything, you already go to the next level of innovation. So take it, you just, so in my mind then I'm not anti-IP protection or anything like that, but in my mind, as Steve Jobs once said that good artists copy, great artists steal. The whole notion in my mind is like innovation is an S curve, and then for those successful entrepreneurs is able to leverage a series of S curves.
Yes.
And then you just keep going. So I really think that you can't milk on an idea forever. The world has changed, tastes change, and so I think that's to be a successful entrepreneurship is have that eye on the ball and know where to pass it.
That's very good.
But there's a different ecosystem today as well. I don't know if the first mover advantage for Jiffy Lube would work today with the social media, the speed with which people can copy and get into the market. I wonder,
But
things
people
like.
still don't execute.
Well,
Like,
that's a whole
ideas are
separate
cheap.
issue.
Everybody,
Right.
I've thought of a million of these ideas. That I see things all the time that I invent. It's about execution. You gotta
That's why she's so good at it. But it is a bridge too far for most people. To be shamelessly self-promoting, in my textbook on entrepreneurship, I say, entrepreneurship is a way of thinking and acting about opportunity. It is deep thought and decisive action. And I find 80% of the people will have the deep thought, and they never get to the action. 10% of the people will take action wildly, and God, it scares the hell out of you, and there's needless risk. And then there's a small proportion that say, I'm going to think deeply, act decisively. A Steve Blank-like thing. Let me learn a bit. I learn, I'll get back in and do it. And I'll learn, I'll get back in and do it. And that execution is so important. I'm involved in a company called Planet Fitness.
Yes.
Do you know Planet Fitness?
Yes.
They're just an amazing company. They're growing like crazy. Their franchisees are very successful. They care deeply about their customers. They're providing a great service. And a lot of people just can't keep up. The competition just can't keep up. But you could, the only patentable or protectable thing is their name. It's a Jiffy Lube on steroids.
No.
They don't use steroids at Planet Fitness. I didn't That was not what I meant. You get strong on natural ways.
The execution can't be underestimated. That really is the big difference between the people I see succeed and don't. And I just can't overemphasize it. For just a few more seconds on IP though, if you've got something that you think is there, go ahead and file a provisional.
Absolutely.
You get a lawyer if you can afford it, but even if you can't, it costs you less than $200 to file it. Dump everything possible into the file, get it filed, and that can give you a baseline.
As far as execution goes, that's what investors look for. They don't just look for an idea. Like the idea should be good, but a lot of investors look forward to the person and not so much the idea.
Well, and that's I think a key thing too is recognizing where you fit. You don't have to be the lead singer in the band to contribute to a band. And so not everyone should be an entrepreneur in the classic CEO sense, but you may have a great deal to contribute to a startup. And I spend a lot of time working with students on that, understanding where their skills are and what they actually bring to the table so they fit well.
Well, that's a brilliant comment. Tell us, if we were interested in your product, do you have a website, or where would we find out about it? Or do we get that in a future
Future.
Okay.
We're still working on it.
Sylvio's is.
What?
You can go to
the
your
webpage,
Yeah.
www.buna.com.r, buna.com.r, or you can find that on Facebook too. It's the same, like the webpage on Facebook.
B-U-N-A.
It's
Buna.
yeah, Buna. It's the chemical name of the rubber that we did later reinterpretation.
Ah, fantastic.
In Spanish, right?
Yeah, sorry.
Professor Christofferson, you are sitting there with a smile and a cute look about something.
Well, I am a professor of economics here at Philadelphia University, but I'm also an advisor of students. So, for example, Mayor is my advisee. So I'd like to get your advice. How useful is working with a group like the Small Business Administration? I know the government does a lot of education and networking, but I don't see them, well, they do loans as well.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering, would you advise these guys go to the government for the Small Business Administration? And I have two other questions. Now or later? Because I've been reading a lot about startups and failures, and reading that there's two population bumps, 20 to 23 and 50 to 59, but they say the optimal age of an entrepreneur is 40. Because at 40, you've got the experience and the network.
And the energy.
The money.
And maybe some day job that supports your nighttime, efforts. So now, or do you gain the experience? Now, or do you work up that network? Because you're saying the money is there for the younger people.
Can be.
And,
Can be. It depends. You have to have a good
depends.
idea.
how do you recommend these guys? Do they go out and get a job and watch some other person succeed and learn from that? Or they just jump out there and say, Give me your money before I have to pay my student loans back.
I mean, that's a really hard question. If I were, go back many years and we're starting over again, I would probably go right out there and do it. And what I would do is I would make sure I had a team. Okay, now the team could just be one other person.
Right.
You need somebody. If you're doing a tech company, I'll give you an example. You want somebody who understands the technology to solve the problem, and you want somebody who understands the business side. At the bare minimum, that's what you want. And you can learn a lot now on your own. The amount of resources you have available today is amazing to me. I mean, I'm an information freak. I just love to reach out and grab stuff and keep it and look at it, and it's just there. I mean, I would start with, if I were going, I would start with Steve Blank's website. I really would. I would go there and read everything he has, and then he's got pointers to everywhere else. And then there are other people, big names that you will find. And big names mean people who have done this and been successful at it. And I would learn as much as I can while I'm doing it, okay? I don't think you want to wait. Now, is there benefit to working for a big company? Absolutely. They can teach you things while you're getting paid. And especially in some areas, you can get paid a whole lot of money to get taught something. However, the likelihood of you becoming an entrepreneur is going to decrease, especially being a successful one, in my opinion, because you get used to a certain lifestyle.
I agree.
I mean,
the only additional, I agree with everything you've said. The only additional information is the reputational effect of failure is much lower today than it was 20 or 30 or 40 years ago. 20 or 30 or 40 years ago, you failed and oh my God, and what did you do? And I'm a failure and it's on my resume and will I get a job? Now it's, wow, what did you learn?
Yeah,
how many failures did you have? Only one? Are you lazy? Why did you have one? I mean, it's amazing.
No, that's such a huge...
And I think, well, these guys are in college. You have a great opportunity to take advantage of all kinds of situations. You have expertise in faculty. We have our faculty are practitioners. We're less academics. We're more practitioners. A lot of people on campus have done it, have run businesses, are running businesses. So go talk to them. Go ask them. You can gain so much experience. I tell people to like Trojan horse into a startup or something and go and learn as much as you possibly can for 6 months as an intern and then get out and go start yours. But just, these little snippets, go do it.
We could talk forever on this, and we probably will, but not on the radio. And so we're gonna thank everyone for coming here. We had a broad array of comments and people and experiences and cultures and perspectives, and it's really wonderful. And to be in the Arlen Specter Center for Public Policy at Philadelphia University and have the senator's picture looking at us as we speak, and the history of the 1779 building surrounding us is inspirational, and I hope a lot of people enjoyed the experience and will learn from it. Thank you.
Thank you.